an equation for a cosine function, and pretty much it's applied the same way with sine function. When you given a function already, or when you given a graph already and you have to figure it out a function. So the one that highlighted is the original function, which is f of x equals cosine x. Okay, that's the parent graph of cosine. And the dashed graph right here is the given graph that we need to figure it out the equation for it. So usually when you try to write an equation for cosine or sine, you just need one period on the graph, and then you can figure it out all the numbers a, b, c, and d. All right, so then I would choose one part of the graph that have one cycle. So start from here all the way here, this, that, and that one. That's already one period, because if I keep going the next part, I see this part is repeated for this part right here. So then that means I go on the second period already. Okay, oops, so I choose my period right here. Okay, so now for my period, I have my maximum point. Now I need to figure out my maximum point. So this would be 0, pi, comma 1. And I have another maximum point here is 2 pi, comma 1. And my minimum point down here is pi, comma negative 3. Alright. So first I want to figure it out a. So then that means I need to figure out the amplitude. And in order to know the amplitude, I need to figure it out the midline first. So midline will be in the middle of the highest point and the lowest point, or the maximum point and the minimum point. So then I have this the highest point, which is at 1, lowest point or minimum point at negative 3. So between negative 3 and 1, that will be negative 1. So my midline is y equals negative 1. Okay, so this is my midline. Y equals negative 1. And then that means my amplitude will be the distance from the midline to maximum point, or the distance from the midline to the minimum point. So I have is the distance, or this the distance. We see the distance is 2. Okay, and we will figure it out whether we should put negative or positive, but right now we know the distance is 2. Okay, so A can be 2 or negative 2, and we will determine later. And next we have cosine and then blank x, so that means we need to figure out B. And remember, B equals we have period equals 2 pi divided by B. So that means if we want to find B, we take 2 pi divided by period. And in this case, how do we find period? So period will be the distance from the two consecutive maximum points or 2 consecutive minimum points. So since the period that we chose earlier already have 2 consecutive maximum points, so then we can calculate it. So this period, so then we will take 2 pi minus 0 pi. This give us 2 pi. Okay, so we have 2 pi divided by 2 pi, and this equals 1. So B is 1. And then next, we were looking for D, and D is the midline, and we already have it. Y equals -1, so D is -1. So now think about if we make a table, okay, to double check our value, I have X is data and then Y. So then for the first one, I have 0 pi, and then if I have, let's say Y equals 2 cosine X minus 1 based on the number we just found, then at 0 pi I will have Y equals 2 cosine 0 pi minus 1, and if you evaluate this, you will get equals to 1. Okay, and then for the second one, so I just draw like this, and then for the second one I will try with the -2. We try to test out which amplitude we should take, whether it's 2 or -2. Okay, I put 2 or -2, and of course when you know the pattern of the graph, you will determine it really quick, but right now we just start on it. So then I will show you the way how to double check it based on your knowledge first before we go with the shortcut. So now next we try with X sin so theta, and then Y equals -2 cosine X minus 1. So if I do this, I still pick 0 pi, and then I have Y equals -2 cosine 0 pi minus 1, and it give me -3. So which one matched to our graph? And we see that according to our graph, the given graph, we have 0 pi comma 1. That means at 0 pi we should get 1. So then the first one, this one work with our graph. So we go back here and we know that -2 doesn't work out, so no more -2. We only choose 2 for this one, and the final answer will be two cosine 1x plus -1, or we can write the complete version as Y equal 2 cosine X minus 1. Okay, so hopefully this video helped you understand how to write an equation for sine or cosine function based on given graph.